Hey, welcome to the Star Power Podcast. I'm excited, as I always say, to have my buddy Craig Duswalt with me. And Craig and I have a few businesses together, but what's more exciting is the fact that he has this amazing history in the rock and roll world, or rock and roll world, that he transitioned very successfully into the business and marketing world. So I'm happy to have you on the Star Power Podcast, my
Hi, James. I'm happy to be here. I love the rock and roll world. I like that way
rock and
better.
roll. It's rock and roll. Maybe I should have said walk and roll, where it's
Rock
Chinese
and roll.
food and
Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
yeah, I can't do that. It's horrible. Well,
So,
thanks for being here.
yeah, great to be here. You look fantastic, my friend. You look
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. For those of you who are listening and not seeing, Craig's talking about my nice
Oh,
sheepy skin.
you,
And I
you should
also painted the
see.
back wall. You can see the back wall of my office is a different color.
I see it. Yeah, no, you should see him right now. If you can't see him, you should just see him.
Just
I'll
see.
describe him. Beautiful face. Uh,
Close your mind's eye. Close your mind's eye.
that's
So
right.
for those people that don't know, you spent a lot of time literally in the rock world, like literally with like the rocker of all time, Axl Rose. So like I know this story and you've told this story many times. I kind of want to not go into that story, but I want to talk about it a little bit. So, you were an actor, you got into working with Air Supply, and then you got into, working with Guns N' Roses and right next to Axl. I want to ask about challenges because they they not only help us learn in our personal lives, but they help us learn in our business world. So, you then became a marketer and very successful with your RockStar Marketing company. Name something that was a huge challenge, like when you first got into that rock and roll world, that you were like, "Holy crap! Like, what am I doing?" Like,
Well,
what's the big thing that hit you?
yeah. It was interesting. So I toured with Air Supply for like 8 years. I was, I graduated college with a marketing degree, but a minor in theater, and I was going to be an actor. That was the whole goal, is to market myself as an actor. So, I was in, most people don't even know this. When I was working at Westbury Music Fair, I was actually cast in The Sound of Music with Theodore Bikel and Roberta Peters.
Mhm.
And I just played an extra. I was in a bunch of scenes, but it was just like an extra, maybe one or two lines or something, chorus, singing, that type of stuff. But I was cast in an, an off-Broadway show because it was off-Broadway in New York. And so everything was great and it was going really, really well. And I met Charles Nelson Riley, came to see The Sound of Music.
Charles Nelson Riley.
you know. So
Oh,
he comes to see the
listen.
Sound of Music, and he's like, "Darling," to Roberta Peters, and they were good friends. And he pulls me off to the side, and he basically, to make a very long story short, buys me acting lessons at HB Studios in New York City. He just sponsored me. He said, I think you have a lot of potential or whatever. Go. I'm setting you up with HB Studios in New York City. So I
Wow.
started taking, I know, acting classes there. So everything was like really dialed in to being an actor. I was studying with Stephen Strimpell and Rita Gardner. Rita Gardner was in the Fantastics,
Hmm.
and it was like that was my goal, right? And then Air Supply comes in, and they take me away. And don't get me
Take
wrong.
me away.
Don't get me wrong, it was amazing, right? It was
Yeah.
amazing touring with Air Supply. But what I found out, like we did like 9 months on the road initially, and then I'd have off for a couple of months, and I'd go back to LA and try to be an actor. Well, I had to start all over. All my connections were
Right.
gone. Everything that I was building was gone. And so I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then Air Supply is ready to go back on the road again. And I'm like, I'm not passing that up because that was amazing touring with Air Supply. We do 8 months again, and then I go home and I'm starting over again. So after 7 years of touring with Air Supply, my challenge was, all right, I'm done. I toured the world 7 times, but now I'm going back to my goal to be an actor.
How old were you at this point?
So now I'm so So 21 and 6, 27. So I'm 27 years old,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to be an actor again. And then I get on General Hospital, and I'm on for a year, and and it was like an under five special, special duty role. So I
Hmm.
was on all the time, but didn't have a storyline at all. But it was good payment. And now I'm on a roll again, and I'm meeting people and everything. And then Guns N' Roses comes calling, and we did it for 3 years. And when I got back from Guns N' Roses, I had to start over again.
Well, let me ask you this question because here, by the way, did I ever tell you my Charles Nelson Riley story?
No.
I was doing a benefit in Los Angeles with Hershey Felder, and we were looking for people to come and be special guests. It was a I can't remember where we were. It was the theater by UCLA. And I think it was post 9/11. We were trying to get people up and out. John Ritter ended up hosting for us, who I
Oh,
adored.
wow.
But I called Charles. Someone gave me his number. Joanne Worley or somebody like that gave me his number. I had never spoken to him. I'm like, he has no idea who I am, right? But Joanne's like, call him. So I pick up the phone and I hear, hello, right? And I said, hi, Mr. Riley, this is James Barbour. I got your number from Joanne Worley. He goes, you were robbed. And I'm like, I'm sorry. He goes, you should have gotten a Tony for Jane Eyre. Well, I was like, what?
Oh,
You should have gotten a Tony for Jane Eyre. And he just started going off. I'm like, I thought he had no idea who I was, but he just went into it. And he's like, honey,
wow.
I don't have the time, but let me know. How can I help? Right. But that's my Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah, and he is that guy. I mean, I made that story way shorter.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable story. Look, maybe he had ulterior motives with a young man like me at the time, whatever it was, but he was very endearing to me. He did not push me into anything that I didn't want to do. And but he kept in contact with me,
Uh,
gave me his phone number and everything. He
yeah.
was a great man. Great man.
Huge supporter.
I love him.
Great guy. So my
Yeah.
question is this. So here you're back in LA, right? And
Yeah.
this is a trajectory that I have run into too, because I went to LA, but then Broadway would come. And I knew that I could go to Broadway and make money, right? But I had other goals. And the same thing would happen. I would be there, I'd make all these connections. And I remember I was up for Big Fat Greek Wedding for the lead. And I didn't get it. It went to what's his name from what's the TV show? The guy that played it with the long hair. He kind of looks similar.
I know what you mean.
Um,
I
and
know.
Joel Zwick was directing that, and I met Joel later. But the casting director literally said to me, she goes, I said, I have to go back to New York to do this show. She goes, wait a minute, what? I said, I have this Broadway show I'm doing. She goes, you should not leave right now. You shouldn't leave right now. Because
But
I was just starting to, yeah. But
yeah,
it was like you go to something that's familiar. So here you are, you're back in LA before Guns N' Roses,
yep,
and you're working in General Hospital, and people are
yep.
seeing you, and you're doing
I was on
what?
Full House, General Hospital, bunch of little
Joel
shows.
Zwick directed Full House.
Yeah, doing. That's where I met Joel.
Yeah.
Doing tons of like theater in
Yeah.
town. Like I'm building up the credits again, and then
So why did you leave? What was that thing?
it's the carrot, man. It was okay. So Doug Goldstein was the manager of Guns N' Roses. He toured with me with Air Supply. He was a security guard, and he just said, "Are you ready to go back on the road?" And my conversation was, "No, I'm done. I'm doing good. I'm getting." And he goes, "Dude, I'm going to pay you a lot of money, And money talked at that time. I
Mhm.
was a starving actor. General Hospital, don't get me wrong, was good money, but Los Angeles, I couldn't live on it. I had to be a waiter at the same time as I was on General Hospital for a year and still had to wait tables just to pay bills.
Yeah.
So so I just said, the fear took over, right? The fear of, well, am I going to be able to do this? Am I good enough to be an actor in LA?
Right.
Even though I'm doing good, I don't know. But this was the sure thing. The
Yeah.
sure thing. The carrot was right there. And I'm like, oh man, it would be, fun to tour with Guns N' Roses. Looking back, look, I don't know if that was a mistake, but I made a ton of connections with Guns N' Roses that I need today because of my son's bands.
Yeah.
So it worked out. But yeah, I always think back, like, what if I didn't
What
do
if?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I were at a gathering the other night, and the woman, it was a birthday party, and she said, every decision that I've made in my life has brought me here.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, had you decided to stay, even small decisions, her thing was like,
Oh
she was going
yeah.
to take a job when she was younger, I think at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And she did this internship program where you do like 3 or 4 different jobs. And she's older than us. So it's back years. And at the end of that internship, you get a job offer. And she got a job offer in an area that she didn't want to work. So she said, no, I'm going to go take another job. And it ended up being a crappier place. But she said that decision to take the other job and the decisions after that got me to where I am today, right here in front of all you people.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened had she stayed at the job at Disneyland? But it is a thing where I talk about it in my book, where artists specifically, the starving artist syndrome. It's I need to go do this, I need to go do that. What's cool about you is that you stayed within the industry,
I
where
did.
somebody else may go, and I actually think it was a cool thing. I mean, you never know, like there are people that have gotten to higher levels by doing other things. Like they want to be an actor, but they go over here and they end up having more power and they become more well known and affect more positive change. So you never know, but it is such a truism because the industry is ripe with, how do you survive, you know?
You know, you said something about a choice, right? I was listening to the Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi seminar the other day, last
Yeah.
week, I think it was on, and this guy Trent Shelton was on. I had never heard of him, and I'm shocked because he's huge in the YouTube world doing videos.
Who
And
is this?
his name is Trent Shelton.
Okay. No, I know who you.
Yeah. So he said something in this seminar. He said, "You're a choice away from a new beginning," and it's like so my trajectory touring with Guns N' Roses totally went in a different direction because when I got back from Guns N' Roses, I wasn't an actor anymore. And now I decided to use my marketing degree. I met my wife. We
Right.
got married. I had to get a job. And then I opened up an ad agency. I worked for an ad agency. Then I opened up an ad agency and started using my marketing degree. But it's in our blood, James, right? Once you're an actor, it's in the blood and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to starve again. So I decided to just do speaking. And I consider my events my little one-man show of me teaching marketing. So
Yeah.
I get the best of both worlds. I'm in a different space than the acting world, but I get to do whatever I want on a stage. So it's
And here's
similar.
the other thing too, I think, Craig, is that, you know, as a performer, I shared this. As a performer, it's amazing, but I'm using other people's words, in my case,
Yeah,
other people's music, other people's
yeah,
direction.
yeah.
And not that that's a bad thing, but I felt that there was something more that I wanted to be of more help.
Mhm.
And with you on stage at your masterminds with Rockstar Marketing and all those things, you're helping people in a way that as a performer we're lifting them up, we're encouraging
Absolutely.
them. But
Yeah.
even with someone who writes their own music, like your son's band Thread, who we're going to talk about, they have their own music, so they're putting out their own message.
Hmm.
When we're actors for hire, the cog in the wheel, we're not doing that. We're having
Yeah.
to put our message underneath. So
Yeah.
what did you learn when you were on the road with Guns N' Roses, that obviously there was so much randomity, I'm imagining, with the band. And I know the stories of you like having to run out and in the middle of the night to do things and people thinking you're in the band and
Oh,
hiding Axel, trying to get him in a car without people seeing him.
exactly.
What was like one life lesson that you took?
I'll give you the best life lesson, man. And anything is possible. That's what my life lesson was. Anything is possible because Axl Rose he loved playing music. He's told me, I just love playing music. I never thought this would happen. And I'm watching him go on stage in front of 80,000 people.
Wow.
And I know he's thinking to himself, like, how did this happen? Like, where did this? So what I got out of it was anything can happen, but dream big. Like just like we just did a with John Limbacher the other day, an exercise like money is no object. Money is no object. What would you do in life? And people were saying some things that were like very minimal. And he's like, no, you're not getting this.
Yeah.
The exercise here is Money is not an object. You can do anything. So I had to throw out, all right, so I would buy the Kansas City Chiefs, and that would be billions of dollars,
Yeah.
right? But that's what he was going for.
Right.
But people were saying, you know what, I'd buy a nice car. No, this is not the exercise. The exercise is be ridiculous right now. You can do anything you want. And then it comes up with a number, right? It's just math. Everything is just math.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses had 80,000 people come to a concert. Threads just played the other night for like 800 people, which was amazing for Threads, you know, but it's just a math equation. So we were doing this math equation. How much would it cost you to live a really extravagant life like Guns N' Roses? And this was way even higher than Guns N' Roses. The number that Gina St. George was doing the exercise in front of everyone was like $2 million a month to
Wow.
get these, like, to have her own jet plane, to have her own, you know, a bunch of cars, a bunch of philanthropy stuff, a bunch of stuff, 2 million a month. So John said, okay, so that means you would have to sell 2,000, $1,000 packages. $1,000 packages, you sell 2,000 a month. And it's, again, it's a math problem
Yeah.
that you go, that's not
Yeah. Well,
as
look,
crazy as it seems. Right.
But it is, you're absolutely right. And where it hit me was when Grant Cardone came to Phantom, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, bro, what are you doing? Right. And I'm like, bro, I want that millionaire booklet you got. Right. So and the reason he wrote that is because he had a publishing deal, right? And he couldn't write another book, but he goes, I can write a booklet, right? So he wrote a booklet and he gave it to me. And he let me put it in my book where you deconstruct $1 million.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, like it is just math. But even that, like when I looked at that, I was sitting in the makeup chair. I'm literally sitting in the makeup chair and I'm reading this little booklet, which is sitting over on my bookshelf over there. And I was like, well, all right, what is $1 million deconstructed in 1 year? This is not in a month, right?
Right.
In 1 year. So $1 million, I'm doing it on my calculator, right? Divided by, let's say, 52 weeks, it's $19,000 a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa, that's a lot of money, right? But what
Yeah.
if I divide that into four? Okay. That's $4,807. No,
No, divide by
no,
5.
by five. Sorry, I'm doing math wrong. Divided by 12, divided by 52. 1 million. That's why I'm not a mathematician. 1 million divided by 52, right?
Right.
Then divide by 7.
Okay, that's 7. Right.
Yeah. So 2 grand, like 3 grand a day. You
Yeah.
have to. But if you break it down, you can do a subscription. You could do, 1,000 people paying you $100 a month. Whatever it is, it's just math.
It
And it's
is.
getting out in front of those people.
And it's with the end goal in line. Like what is the end goal? I need to accomplish this. You know, Paul McCartney and John Lennon from the Beatles, they used to, like, Paul McCartney would said, I need to put a pool in my backyard. Let's write a song.
Yeah.
So I forget the song they wrote, but it was called the Pool Song. That got me my pool. You know,
Yeah.
if you have these little goals and you just set, okay, I want to go on vacation. It's going to cost me this much money. What do I need to do to get that much money? Look, membership sites, subscriptions, all these things, products for $297, mastermind coaching programs for more money than that. I mean, if you really think about it, it's $1 million a year is not crazy. $2 million a month ended up being, of course, it's a little crazy. 2,000 people buying a $1,000 package might seem overwhelming to some people, but
But how many people are there on the planet? Look, I had this
that's
conversation
right. If
with
you
with,
really
with
think
another
about
friend
it,
of mine.
it's not crazy. Yeah.
And the fact that and we talk about this in our speakers program, there are people out there that need what you have, right? You are an expert in some field, no matter, even if it's crocheting.
Yes.
How many people love crocheting? You could create a crochet group and send out a newsletter about crocheting every month. You
Yeah.
talk about the lady that did was it $47 one time lifetime, and she had like 7 or 800,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Isabel De Los Rios from Beyond Diet. I think she had 900,000 people paid $47 for a lifetime subscription to her online site for dieting. And
Yeah.
she just gives content, and it's like $44 million.
Yeah. If you have 1,000 people paying you $9 a month for your just and it's an email that goes out once a month. That's
Yeah,
$9,000 a month.
yeah, just
You're like,
that.
wait a minute, it's doable. You just have to do it. And the key is, and this is where we sometimes, I mean, everybody, with how do you get those people,
Yeah.
right? How do you get in front of those people? With
Well, and that's everything we do, right?
Yeah, everything. But it's every business. It's even, theater. How it's marketing, it's
Yeah.
promotion, it's getting in front of the right
And
audience.
now with AI, that John Limbacher and I just did a 2-day event in Los Angeles about AI. Oh my gosh, the things that I learned there is it's even easier now to look so professional in your business. And John said something genius this week, and I'm sharing it everywhere I go now. AI is not going to take your job away from you, but the person that knows AI will take your job away from you.
It's a
And
good
there's
point.
the key to everything. That's the
Yeah,
key
it's a
to,
great point.
yeah.
How did you, when you made that change, when you made the transition and you started speaking, yes, and yes, you were an artist and still are. What did you find beneficial? You were interacting directly with the audiences, helping people. Why did you choose the market that you chose? Like, you could have gone in and spoken about music. You could have been a, a producer. You could have done anything. Why
Yeah.
did you choose the area that you chose?
Well, I was a marketing major in college, and then I worked for an ad agency for years, and then I opened my own ad agency, and I was just good at marketing. I was always good at marketing, but I learned outside the box marketing how to do things differently, touring with Air Supply and Guns N' Roses, because they certainly don't hand out business cards to people. They do things different to get 80,000 people to come to a concert. So I
Right.
saw some of those things that
Like
they
give
did.
us one that was
Oh, no, no, no. Is this a PG so or an XO or R?
I can put explicit as thing. People have dropped F bombs. But
No,
I mean,
no, no.
like I
Yeah.
remember didn't you two like they did something on a roof and they weren't supposed to do it on the roof?
Oh, yeah. You two did a concert on a roof. Yep.
And they weren't
Uh,
supposed to do it. They just did it like a
yeah,
pop-up.
I think Queen did Central Park. They didn't have a permit for that. I mean, it's just doing things in business that are that is just different than what everyone else does. I'll give you one example that I do.
Yeah.
So I have these envelopes, like a regular, oh, they're over there somewhere. Anyway, a regular envelope, a business envelope. And
Hmm.
I hate cold calling in business. I would never make a cold call because I hang up on the people that do cold calls.
Yeah.
So I have envelopes, and if I want to contact for someone to either sponsor one of my events or even just come to an event or do something bigger in the music industry, I'll put their name on the envelope, their address, and I'll put my return address and my telephone number under my return address. I'll lick the envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it. And then they'll get it. Say John Smith gets it, and he opens it up, and it's empty. It's an empty envelope. And curiosity is killing him. Like, what was in this that this guy sent me? Oh, good. He left his telephone number in the return address. So he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Craig, my name is John Smith. You just sent me an envelope and nothing was in it. And I'm curious what was in it." And I said, "Nothing. I just wanted to talk to you about my upcoming event." And one of two things happened. One, he'll be like, "Dude, that's really what are you doing? That's bad. That's bad." I said, "Dude, you called me. I didn't call you." So he can't get mad at me. And 99% of the time, they'll be like, "Wow, that's pretty good getting me on the phone." So it's just things like that. Like they didn't do that with Guns N' Roses, but because they did different things, it made me start thinking, what different things can we do in business
Right.
to get people to find out who we are?
That's
Uh,
awesome.
get to know us just a little bit different than what everyone else does.
What do
And
you,
that's
what do you what do you see like because you have a mastermind and you've had for years. What are the biggest challenges that your mastermind members face? Is there one overall? Like, is it, I'm being straight. Is it, we don't
yeah.
have enough money. I don't have the motivation or I don't have the
Yeah.
not like, what is it that,
All right. So I'm going to go into two areas. There's a challenge that I face running the mastermind is I know how good James Barbour and my speaker cruise program is. It is way better than I would say every other speaker program out there. Yeah, of course, I'm floating our own boat, but you know what? I know how good it is. And yet we struggle to convince people to show up and come to stuff.
Mhm.
I just did a 2-day event that my mastermind, I have about 108 people in my mastermind, they get to come to this for free to learn all about artificial intelligence and how it can grow your business and how you can make your life easier using it. And 30 people came out of 108. So my challenge is, how do I convince these people? Because I know if they come to our cruise, they'll be a better speaker and they'll know the industry of speaking. They'll be able to share their story better. They'll be able to make a better offer on stage so that they make more money in their business. I know that. So my job, our job, is to convince them. But it's hard. It's hard to convince people to spend money to make more money. Same thing with AI. It's the future, not even the future, it's now.
No.
And if you're behind, you're going to be left behind. And it's a 6-month window that we have like right now where you better get on board or you're going to be so far behind. And yet it was hard to get people to show up. It was weird.
Well, I remember
That's
a long time ago. I remember there was, I can't remember, it was Good Morning America or something like that, and it was about the at sign or something
oh
like
yeah.
we were talking about. Is like, well, what is that? Like, the adoption curve is slow sometimes, but those that are in front of the curve fare much
Yes.
better. So I get it. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
understand it. Look, so that's
So
for
wait,
you.
so that's our issue
Yeah,
from that side. And then the issue with people in the mastermind is most people, I'm not, I'll leave my mastermind out of it because I don't want to say that they do this, which some of them do. Most people operate out of fear.
mhm,
They operate out of fear that A, they're not really good enough to do what they're doing, even though they are. They've been told that they can't do it or there's too many people doing it, so that you need to spend millions of dollars to get ahead of them. That's not true, especially now with AI. We've all been told what we can't do, and a lot of people believe it, that what they
right.
can't do. And if they would just really, if you have a passion for something and you believe it, that you can do it and you know that you can help people, it should be a no-brainer. But most people operate out of fear, like they have this thing in the back of the mind, oh, it's going to be too hard. I'm really going to have to work if I do this. Yeah, you do. You got to work.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I talk about it, the Facebook group program that I have, the Facebook group mastery program.
which is great. Yeah.
It's a great program. And the interesting thing about it is that that's why why I created it. You and I know there's a guy that I consulted with who does about 200,000 a month in Facebook ads. That's what he spends,
Right.
right? But he makes a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
From that, he gets great leads. A lot of those people that are not in that, like most people are not in that world, unless you're a big business or a very successful entrepreneur. It's how can you do it for little money or no money? Like this thing doesn't cost any money, right? To do to build a Facebook group and use the strategy that I've
Yeah.
developed, it's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
And yet convincing people to, even when they're in the program, sometimes I call it the gym membership. They buy a
Right.
gym membership and they just don't do the work. And you're going to have to, at some point, take the leap. You're going to have to step off the diving board or just, walk out, look both ways while you're crossing the street, but you got to cross the street. And I think that is a challenge that
It
way.
is.
I also think that it's incumbent or important to get the right people in the room, whether you're in a mastermind or a plumbing business or what have you. If you're a plumber and you're talking to a group of people that rent apartments, meaning like they're a renter, they don't care about the plumber because the
Yeah.
landlord is
Right.
handling the plumbing. Even though there's maybe 100 people that live in the apartment, I don't care. He deals with it. You have to have the right people in front of you. What do you do because you're so good at this? Like, what is your turn? Like, how do you alleviate those fears in people?
Um, I try to build them up to believe in themselves. It's motivation, inspiration, just sharing that they are an expert in this field. Well, I get people to write books. So one of the things I do is you should write a book because then you're automatically perceived as an expert in your industry because you wrote the book on it. So one of the first things I try to convince people in my mastermind is to write a book. So that's overwhelming to some people. A lot of people in my mastermind have written a book.
Yeah.
but it is overwhelming to some people. And that's why now AI is so good, because it could write a book for you. And then you take the book that it wrote for you, literally wrote a whole book for you, and then you tweak it. So now you have a blueprint, and then you just make it sound like yourself, like you're talking, and just edit it. But starting with a blank page, writing a book is a little overwhelming. But now you don't even have that situation as well. Here's another thing, touching on what you just said. Um, John Limbacher, we just did this AI thing, and he has this thing, he calls it a Becky, is his avatar.
Hmm.
It's his girl that is a customer service rep. It's a robot, a bot on his website. But Becky also promotes him. And one of the things that we have a hard time doing as entrepreneurs is telling everyone how great we are, right? It's
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm so good at this. And people in my mastermind, I know this for a fact. We were talking about the challenges and the roadblocks that they have is most people hate talking about themselves. They're really good talking about how other people are great. So this is why AI is so good too. You can create what John calls a Becky, your own person. What is yours? The llama? Do you have a llama or something?
No, for those who don't know, I was sending in a series of emails and I
Oh,
created a llama, but the llama came about from AI
yeah,
because I was writing an email and I wanted to get creative. And I'm a pretty good writer. I mean, I love to write. I've
yeah,
always written, but I took the email and I put it into ChatGPT and I said,
yeah.
hey, this is the basis for the email. Use my words, use my voice, but come up with something funny and that would be sort of out of left field. And it was
Right.
like, well, come to my thing. Maybe a llama's going to show. I was like, whoa. And I'll tell you something. I used that hook, line, and sinker throughout the entire email series and through the webinar pitch. And
Yeah, it
people
was
still
great.
talk about it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I just
took it
did.
like I named it Greg with two G's. Like that wasn't ChatGPT. You still have to make it your own. It's
Yeah.
like John said, it's not going to replace you, but if you know AI, that person is going to take over where you are. They're going to move
So
faster.
so imagine this Becky for John promotes John.
Right.
Oh, John is so wonderful. His ACT program is amazing. Oh my God, he could do this for you. He could do this for you. So now John he had ChatGPT write the script for Becky to promote his event, to promote his product.
Right.
And so now, if we have this thing, which a lot of people do, that's one of the big challenges is talking how great we are at what we do. A lot of people can't do it. And that's why coming to James and our speaker cruise, how do you do that without sounding like you're talking about
Well,
yourself
still getting
when you're on
speaking is
stage?
still, yeah, public speaking is
Right.
still one of the major fears.
Yeah, major fear.
Let me ask you about the Becky thing because we should probably have John on, bring you and John on.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it his own creation, that AI bot?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
does he allow other people, like, does he sell that or does he promote it?
He sells Build Your Becky.
Oh,
It's
that's cool.
$99 for the year. And it's called Build Your Becky. I have
And
an
then where
affiliate.
does he put it? So, like, lead gen, again, we were talking about lead gen. So I could have that on my website, but if I'm not driving any traffic, then nobody's talking to Becky.
Well, he does numerous things with Becky. One of them, it's a customer service rep. So anyone that goes on his websites, it's a chat bot. So you could chat with Becky, and he has trained Becky to answer 95% of the questions that anyone would ask him about his programs.
Right.
So Becky can answer the questions, and he doesn't have to pay Becky any money at all. She does it for
Right.
free. So he's trained Becky what to do in that. But then he also has Becky that he interviews Becky, and stuff like that. He just throws it out there on, like, he has a pretty decent list. So he just throws it out there, Becky talking about his programs.
Right.
So yeah, back to, okay, so how do you get a list, right? How do you get
Right.
people to go to your site? But that's all marketing. That's why James is doing a podcast. That's why we do podcasts. That's why we write books. That's why I do events. That's why I speak on other people's podcasts. I mean, it's all that marketing stuff is how you get there. But most people don't do it. They'll
Right.
start it, they build the products first without even knowing who their audience is. Another thing is you got to know who your audience is. And then once you know your audience, you go to ChatGPT or Perplexity and find out what is the best way to attract these type of people. Like, all right, Threads. Threads is killing it right
Yeah. So
now.
tell people, because people may not know what Thread is. We talked
Right.
about.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Threads is one of my son's band. My middle son Ryan, he's a drummer for Threads. He's played Lollapalooza. He's played Bottle Rock with another band called Otto. So now he's in a band called Threads, and they're just we have a heavy metal band, and they just played the Whiskey the other night, and it was sold out, packed audience, and they're doing really well. But they hired a PR firm for $1,500 a month to help them get on playlists and help them get the numbers up on Spotify. So in 7 weeks, they had 76 monthly listeners on Spotify 7 weeks ago. They now have 12,200 in
Wow.
7 weeks, right?
Wow.
So they're doing but they put out Instagram posts, they put up TikTok stuff, they put little videos together, they take little pieces of their shows and they just put it everywhere. And that's what, I'm I'm helping them with their marketing, but these kids know way better than me with TikTok and these Instagram reels because they have no fear. They have no fear. They don't care if someone says, "Oh, that's a crappy song." They're like, "All right, you're not my audience. Move on."
Yeah.
Whereas us adults,
That's huge.
uh-oh,
Look, that's huge.
I'm
That's
doing
huge.
something wrong.
Yeah, I
I
had a
put
conversation today
myself
with
out there.
somebody. Yeah, because
What?
I've been through a lot of stuff, right? We've all been through stuff, and it's that fear of going, well, what if they, what if, and I talked about this. You and I haven't spoken about this, but I had this when I started moving into this world, pretty much full time now, and I'm still performing. I'm still doing stuff. Like I did a concert on the cruise ship, and I'm
Yep.
doing, when we did our last event, I'm doing my holiday concerts. I still do all my stuff, but I do it under my own auspices. Is that I realized something. I sat there and I'm like, well, what if I start moving into this other world of really helping people, which is what I've always wanted to do? And then somebody's like, well, what did he quit? Did he give up? And I was like, who cares? I don't care.
Right.
I don't care what Joe Schmo thinks
That's right.
because chances are Joe Schmo has never done what I've done.
That's
Like
right.
there are only 16 people in the world who were contracted to play the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera.
There you go.
Other people, the understudies, have done it, but even that, in 30 some odd years, it's a handful of people in the world.
In the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, once you've done what I've done, then then maybe we can talk.
Oh, someone said that. Oh, this is weird. Trent Shelton again said this. He's really good, this guy. I'm realizing how good he is because I'm
Yeah,
grabbing some quotes.
some
But
snippets.
he said, we have eyes, right? And we see what we see. We see the vision that we see. But most people, like if I gave someone my glasses to see what I see, that prescription is not right for them. So they're never going to see what I see. But we listen to those people.
Yeah.
We listen to them, even though they're not seeing what I'm seeing, and they've never done what I have done to get to the point where I see what I see.
Right.
Yet we listen to them, even though the prescription is totally wrong. That we just gave them my glasses to see what I see, but they can't see what I see because they haven't experienced what I've experienced. And
Exactly.
that's exactly what you just said. How many people have toured with Guns N' Roses in the last 30 years? So there was 180 plus, let's just say there was a couple of I'd say less than 500 people have toured with Guns N' Roses in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm one of them. How many people have toured with the entourage of the band and not in the crew? There's less than 50
Yeah.
over time that have toured with Guns N' Roses the way I have. Less
Yeah.
than,
I
just
mean,
like
you
your
were,
number and Phantom.
yeah,
That's my
but you were literally with Axel all the time,
24/7.
24/7.
24/7.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
job, But what a
Yeah.
voice, though. What a voice.
Oh, an amazing voice. That guy is legit, man.
Let me ask you this because we could, we when we talk, I mean, it's kind of like we're not even doing a podcast. We're just talking, which is what we do all the time. Sorry, you're wearing that Kansas City Chiefs
This
hat.
is going to
I'm
be
just
your
kidding.
longest podcast ever.
Yeah, no, don't worry, I'll edit it, Ursula. Um,
Okay, Glenn.
so as we're closing out, like what legacy do you want to leave to the world?
Yeah, I swear on my life, this is true. I just wanted to be known as a good husband and father. That's all.
Yeah,
That's it.
I know
I,
that's true.
I all the other stuff is superficial. It's like I just want my kids are amazing. They're such passionate, compassionate kids. They're every time they do something, it's a reflection of Natasha and I. And that is the most important thing. They come to my seminars. Everybody loves my kids because they're nice people. And I just want to be known that Natasha and I did really good with our kids.
Well, you did. I'll, when I first met you, I knew you, and then I met Natasha, and then I met the boys. And I'll share this, and I've shared it many times, that bond that the boys have between them,
Yeah,
something that I have rare, I've never seen it. And,
it, it's
it's a
yeah.
testament to who you and Natasha are as parents. I mean,
Thank,
you move your life for your kids, just like we do. I mean, look, I'm going to Vegas for the Junior Olympics in volleyball. Like we're uprooting, and our younger daughter's like, okay, we're going. We do it as a
right.
family because that's what's important at the end of the day.
That's all that's
It's all
important.
that's important. Well, I think your legacy is secure
Yeah.
in that way,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Well, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, James Barbour. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, buddy. All right, I'm going to take us out. Hey, listen, Craig has been through so many different iterations of his life and worked at the highest and highest and highest and highest level. And, to me, it's a testament to who he is, not only as a person, but as a businessman, to see his success. And what he said was get started, go do something. Your destiny's waiting. It's up for you to go. Sorry, I'm going to take it again. Your destiny's waiting. It's up to you to go and get it. We'll see you on the next one. If you like the content of Star Power, we'd love to hear it. Give us a like and share it out to your friends.